Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel here today. Today we're going to be watching episodes 11 and 12 of the third season of Hibike Euphonium, and we're excited to be here to continue our little journey here today. Now first off, as I do in like every video, boring structural stuff, I will do both episodes here today in a row, just so I can get ahead on the picture-in-picture stuff and the rendering there, so I'm not chasing my tail later in the week. Hopefully this doesn't lead to any problems. I can't think of any way where it would. Unless I finish 11 here today and I'm like, oh shit, I really got to talk like a lot about 11. Then we may change some things. But other than that, we should be okay. Again, work just texts me. They're like, hey, can you start like an hour earlier than you normally do? And I'm like, dog. I've got shit to do. Anyway, neither here nor there. The video will be out in some amount of time. Again, it's only really for patrons because the public ones always go out whenever the other ones go out anyway. I'm rambling like crazy. All right, let's jump into the YouTube comments. That's the best way to get started here. And today we have the comment from Pencil Sharp 333, of course, just going into a few little bits and pieces about last week's episode. Episode 10, a really fantastic episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If kind of 8 and 9 are building tension, then 10 is the release. And again, I thought those episodes built tension quite well. I thought the release was quite well as well. So like, yeah, clearly there's still stuff to do. We still have a nationals to complete. We still have a Mayu to check in on. More than that, but you know what I mean there. But for right now, we're feeling okay, and that's the best part. Apparently, this episode here was led by Minoru Ota, with the assistance of Kitanohara. Ota is the new instrument animation director, which is interesting because I noted a shot at the very end of the episode, which was very much focused on Kumiko's reflection in one of the musical instruments, so potentially that's a little addition that was placed there based on the staff involved, which was nice. It's a weird thing, but I kind of feel the episode was shiny. Does that make any sense? Like, I can kind of see this connection in a weird way. So I think that's kind of neat. I'm pretty sure the subs switched the labels, so Taki got candy from his boss, and Reina asked about Shuichi's opinion. I don't remember the context of this, but okay, did he get the candy from his boss? Anyway, it's neither here nor there. Last week was a long time ago, let's put it that way. The Damachi Yanagi shopping street Kumiko walks through is from Tamako Market. Yeah, I should watch Tamako Market, by the way. I've seen Tamako Love Story, obviously very good. It's another Naoko Yamada adjacent thing, isn't it? I thought it was. So I should check that out. I've never seen it. I hear it's way more straightforward slice of lifey. There's not really any plot element to it, basically at all. I hear it's cute though. I found that there's like a bird guy. He seemed annoying. I don't know about that. But yeah, I mean, I should watch it at some point on the channel or not. Apparently the stack of books in the room also is something about nursing. Presumably that's Kaori, which is cool. In season 2 home visit, Asuka had some legal books on her shelf, so potentially going into law. Okay, that's a little bit of something. I like that. The bridge run and flashbacks in the speech call back to Kumiko's growing ability to express the ideas she learnt early on in the show. She was concerned about losing them, but after taking the step to bring them into this leadership role and share with everyone, I'm confident that they will remain beyond the high school band. Okay, so it's kind of like a reinforcement. A lot of this season is, if I was to be slightly critical, it does feel very much like we're retreading a lot of territory, but I also, on the other hand, think that's very purposeful because we're reinforcing things a lot, like I said, right? So you reinforce through repetition. Makes sense to me. And yeah, I again agree with myself from last week where I'm like, hey, yeah, we're bringing this stuff in, right? The stuff that she learned in season 1 about being better, about this kind of stuff here, this kind of philosophy that is shared between her and Raina in a lot of ways. But she's bringing that together in a lot more of a, what's the word, digestible package for the rest of everybody else. Listen, Raina's she's a little bit rough, sandpaper-esque sometimes. So, we sometimes need to put that through the lens of somebody who's actually made this discovery relatively recently, as opposed to somebody who lives and breathes that discovery and doesn't understand anybody that doesn't believe it. Again, Shuichi, Reina, two sides of Kumiko coming together. She's taking the best of both worlds and putting it out into the world. That's all we want, really. Your discussion focused me in on how Taki is trying his best within his limitations, whether those are social or personal, giving the candy to Kumiko when she's under stress, and rehearsing the intro of the piece to reassure the band of their technical accomplishment. Yeah, I liked my Taki stuff. A lot of it's headcanon from last week. But I do think that Taki worries about this stuff more than he lets on. And if a lot of this season is drawing back the curtain of the presidents of the club and that kind of thing and what they've been doing up to this point and all the stuff behind whatever big moments that the leaders of the club normally have by putting Kumiko in their shoes, wouldn't a similar thing happen when Kumiko becomes a teacher and she realizes, hey, Taki was going through all of this as well? Again, peeling back the curtain, showing that these people that look like they have it all together potentially don't have it all together and are good at lying about it. And it's kind of like a fake it till you make it type thing. That's my theory anyway. I'd like to think that Kumiko will make similar discoveries about teaching when she becomes a teacher as she has to being the club president when she became the club president. That's all I'm trying to say there. And yeah, that's the comments for this week. Obviously, I'll get those patrons up and we'll do that shout out. As always, there's one episode left here, episode 13. If you really can't wait for that one, then I've got Patron up there ready to go. If you wanted to pay me like $6, you can do that and see the episode early. It's within your grasp. Either way, some people have done that, up to and including Annie, Greg, Mickey Babbers, Trails Plus Plus, Adley, Bobbin, Chobo Ribby, Domobot, Ed, Fleur Nightingale, Fruit, Funny Fat Guy, Gloriana Tenebrae, Gus N, Heath, Ika, Yako Yavanen, Jacob R, Joran, Clem, Nosta, Lou, Mad Lad, Max, Mish, Pencil Sharp 333, Ramen Boy, Ron Lad BNK, Saint Lily, Sam1373, Skeleton, Surrogate Corpse, Victoria S, Without a Net, Zach, Binshi, Hans Peter, Kelvin, Marsh, and Aidan O'Brien. So thank you to all of those people that have given me money. I appreciate it, of course. And yeah, now moving on to episodes 11 and 12, of course, as well. I'm expecting Mayu. Mayu should be this episode, into Nationals the following episode, into results of Nationals, into epilogue stuff. That's how I would imagine we're going to structure this. It becomes easier and easier to predict as there's less and less episodes as we go, where certain beats in the story will be. We notably haven't had a musical performance this kind of season yet, so expecting that in this 2-episode chunk as well, probably at the end of episode 12, if I was to guess. And yeah, I'm also officially caught up. So after I finish 12 today, I'll be caught up with everybody else. I'll be able to talk as much about this as I can with all of you. Sounds cool to me. Anyway, I'm going to get up episode 11 up very, very shortly, and we'll pop that sucker in. Radio have episode 11 up there ready to go. 24 minutes and 57 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly with your copy. It is the subs please version, if you needed a version to copy off, but should be pretty similar to wherever else this is streaming. And yeah, I'm going to give this a 3, 2, 1 and jump right in. So yeah, radio, 3, 2, 1, go. Sound Euphonium? Based. It was very funny how Asuka showed up for 2 seconds and slyly gave Kumiko the exact correct answer, which is like, hey, just consider everybody's perspective and be honest, which is just good advice for everything. Take a step back. Empathy. They're all good lessons. There's not much left, Chad. I'm getting a little bit sad. Second to last week. Hopefully that bit in the opening there, that was all the falling out that Kumiko and Reina had. And there's no more falling out. I hope they're just nice to each other now. We don't like to see our faves in conflict. It feels bad. I'm keen to see this season stuff be reinforced a little bit more as well. Like the winter into spring. Obviously the cherry blossoms. Starting anew, new beginnings. Um, and Mayu. How's Mayu going to impact all of this as well? We must consider. Did we win? Suckers. That's not us either. We don't care. They suck. All right, here we go. All right, okay. Gold, yeah, okay. No, settle. I thought they were also going to announce if we passed. There we go. Mm-hmm. Okay, Myojo made it. Their uniforms are gross. Ryusei? Boo. No, they're alright. Alright. Tense up again, everybody. We're probably going to make it. Let's face it. Yeah? Okay, we did it. Easy. Never in doubt. Again, just based on placement in the episode, you can guess that we're going to make it. Also, this being the final season. Interesting mix of emotions for you. Orchestra to the future. Oh my god. It's an intangible, but I would have to agree that it did change something. Hello, first years. It's fine. I really don't care. Well, I care, but you know what I mean. Thanks. Sally got kind of intense there. Just fair enough. Yeah, you seem a little bit rattled. I'll give you that. She's a good player. Miracle performance? Oh my god. There's no such thing as miracles. Miracles can't exist in this world. Mm-hmm. A little bit of misery in that. Thank you, sir. Okay, bye. Yeah. Thanks. Interesting. What an okay. All right, as long as he's okay with it. That was seemed a little bit intense. A little bit. Interesting. I love this too. Um, yeah, because there's the thing about stacking rocks at the river. Something about death. Anyway, we'll talk about it. Wait, somebody got in? Who got in? Wait, Rain is going to America? Funny. Yeah, that was a faux pas. That's funny. It's very optimistic. That's very optimistic, yeah. Oh, big pizza? Hell yeah. Massive slice. Amazingly well animated pizza for no reason. I know. Doesn't matter. Oh, I'll go. Are we going to see all the senpais too? I'll be pretty happy about that. Interesting. I really liked that moment with Mizore and Kumiko. I think it was in Encon near the window. I thought that was really good. It's okay. We both said things we didn't mean. It's okay. Okay, I'm happy you can joke about it. I love you hug? Yeah. Perfect. Come on. Bring it in. You cannot deny an I love you hug. The fans are loving this. They're going to have to be loving this. Platonically. uh, yeah, we'll back into it. Hmm. I work on my issues all the time. Okay, auditions again, of course. I mean, it's not up to me, but I'm going to give it a good go. Love the eyes, of course. I've heard that one before. Great. great. Love it. True. I too have seen the show. I love Breathe with Raina on the page as well. What? Talk to me. Butterfly onto flower. Flower equals spring? Anything. I don't know what that is. I'm recording, which is good. Please don't. We just we just passed Perfectuals because you played so well. Yeah. Well, what is this? Oh, look at that. Well, yeah. Yeah. It'd be a hollow victory. Maya's going to show up in my dreams telling me I can have the Soli here in a minute. She's done it so many times. I think you're stretching on that too. What? I don't know. I disagree. I don't think she's like evil. I forgot about all this as well. We're playing this up as some kind of realization. I don't think they're on the right track here at all. She's not like an evil like person. Oh, cute. Okay. I like this. I don't know. I actually like that as a quote. My Soli part. Don't cry, you'll mess up the makeup. Don't like the sound there. Yeah, something like that. Oh, look at these. Oh my goodness. Gracious me. Oh, this is great. I'm loving every moment. Get smashed. Easy. Yeah, it would be nice. Love that moment. That was amazing. All right. Where's Misery? Show me her now. Quickly. There she is. Interesting cut. Oh, this is great. This is just there's some Liz and the Bluebird payoff. I love this. Yeah, settle. We're not going anywhere. Ben Cure. Oh my god. Cute. I don't know. What? I don't know. That's fantastic. Oh shit. That's so funny. Always very blunt and straightforward. But I do agree as well. If I remember tomorrow, I'll talk about how that performance and the editing there reinforces that decision. Yeah, it's coming to an end. You could say 1 month, or you could say 2 more episodes. This is Liz and the Bluebird too. Also, of course, the traffic light thing as well, like the first episode. Okay. What? Did you not? I think you're being a little bit dramatic. Yeah. Heiki he chadra? Yeah. You're my special person holding hands? Like, are we serious? Just smooch. Great. But the episode evidenced that you can go in different directions in your career and still maintain a good friendship. Your senpais literally did that. There was a whole movie about it. It was called Liz and the Bluebird. You will grow apart, but that doesn't mean you can't still be friends. Maybe not as close friends. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. I get the idea in the sentiment, I guess. All right, and now we're into auditions, and that'll be next episode, correct? Yeah, what was that stuff in the middle of the episode about, like, she's like teasing you by asking you all this stuff? I kind of want to go back and just like rewatch that scene because I don't get what she's on about. Kanade's like, she's doing this for a reason and she's targeting you. You wouldn't do this for her. Yeah, because we're not the same person. Again, I'll be very, very surprised if we don't talk to Mayu and she's like, this is all predicated on a previous experience that I had. Probably also the reason why I left Seira. That would make sense to me. Anyway, like, I'd be very, very, very surprised if that's not the case. But I guess I get to find that out now in the next episode, so again, neither here nor there. Like, I don't think any of it's out of malice. I think, again, like, she has more going on to why Mayu feels this way. But again, Kanade is also playing that role of being that, again, little devil on Kumiko's shoulder and telling her these things that may not be correct. Maybe the worst interpretation of things, let's say. Yeah, of course Kumiko wouldn't come up to her and say that, oh yeah, you can have the Soli part. It's not. She's not. She's not trying to tease you by doing that. We're just different people, and there's different context. You know? Odd. Anyway, maybe I'm misinterpreting that scene. I don't know. That was wonderful. I loved all the stuff with the senpais, obviously, because they're like my favorite characters in anything ever. So the second years, well, from the first year, were always the best character quartet there. So I'm happy they got their shine. Anyway, moving on swiftly to episode 12. Radio, episode 12, up there ready to go, of course. I've got 24 minutes and 57 seconds on that one, so sync up accordingly with your own copy. If you don't have your own copy, there is a picture-in-picture version in the description below waiting for you. If that's all well and good, let's jump in with a 3, 2, 1. Radio, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, no opening. Couple flowers. 2 different colours. Now, in what context are you playing? Oh, you're playing... Yeah, maybe not out of a teasing thing, but... based on your own personal stuff going on. Has to be. This is the last audition ever. It's the last time I'll ever put my kind of lips on a euphonium. Alright, let's go, Kumiko. Head up, champ. The last soloist. Oh my god. Oh, we don't even get to hear it? This is all happening very quickly. Great. Mm-hmm. Okay. Carnaday? No way! Well, if they didn't change that, they probably won't change the other thing. I'm going to imagine this isn't going to change. They're going to read Mayu's name out here, just based on episode structure. Really? Okay, shit. Oh, what? 2? What? What do you mean? But, none of it's vindictive. I still don't think it is. Boo. Also, why are they tormenting the students? Taki, you have a lot of explaining to do. What the hell are you doing? I guess it matches with these, like, student-driven thing. I think you somehow picked the worst decision. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously what we're calling back to. Hey, that's a way better answer, too. Okay. Sad talking? Okay, what a nice thing to say. It becomes a lot better what he just said if it is a blind audition, if nobody can see who's playing. What? Because again, this entire conflict is predicated on Kumiko being popular in the club. Because she's the president. And everybody knows her. Of course. Yeah. I feel like we already had this conversation. Okay. We're doing the season 1 thing again, of course. Hey, get a room, you two. Oh no. What? Thought she had a sore ass there for a second. Don't know what's going on there. Cute. I'm on your side no matter what you choose. I was too, from like the first scene of the season. Cute. Oh yeah, look at this! Look at this like elaborate setup they have going on. Rain will beat your ass. No, This is all happening very quickly. Thoughts, feelings. Also, we've had like half a dozen shots of those two characters walking away from each other. I understand you said that before as well. A load of repetition. Luck of the cards. Oh, so she doesn't even know what who's playing first? That's funny. You two talk to each other challenge, impossible, difficulty very hard, just have a normal conversation. Ask why? It's a simple question. Why do you keep doing this? They're passing the challenge? I agree. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, I see what we're doing here now. Okay, or maybe not. Exactly. Interesting. So that's the justification. It most certainly is, actually. Exact same location, yeah. Poor Yuko. Astute observation. Perfect. That conversation was such a long time coming. I wonder if the audience will get to see who plays first and who doesn't. Or will be on the same page as everybody else. Because we specifically didn't see the cards already. It's Kumiko. Has to be. Okay. I'm staking my claim that this is Kumiko. Do you reckon Reina knows? I mean, sounds pretty good to me, but again, I'm a layman, of course. What if that tape just came undone and revealed everything? Could. You never know. Maybe we'll never get to know who played which. That would be interesting too. Again, I'm big stupid because I can't hear like any difference at all. Cool. You both played borderline identically. I'm also going to take this opportunity to say this is like still psychotic, by the way, but you know. I'd put my hand up for both, because I honestly just, like, don't know. Obviously, I'm going to go back through and check which character picks which. Of course. Exact same. Wah! The drama. I love it. Oh shit. What's the shot? That shot's crazy. Yeah. Is that really how they sounded? They're so much younger. Interesting, because that's the one I thought was Kumiko. They're both stone-faced. Ooh. Really? The first play was... Okay, I got it wrong from a literal, like, half on half. There you go. I thought this was our end result, too, based on last episode as well. Look at little Yuko down there. Not Yuko, bro. She's gonna be okay, guys. That feels very similar to season one's this as well. What an odd question. Okay. Probably one like that, I guess. Yeah. Best or member? I love this for Mayu's arc specifically, and for what we just explained before. I think that's the strongest stuff there. Yeah, great. I love that. It was 11th hour, but I think in the end, it's quite a good little story there. And I guess you could go back through the season retroactively with this information and probably see some more stuff. Yeah, great, wonderful. I love all this. Also, Kanade is very funny. Reina ran off. Ah, love the camera. Of course, I hate this. Cute. I love this. Um, that's got a lot of parallels through a lot of different characters. That reminded me of Kumiko and Asuka as well at the end of season 2. We're going up the hill? Oh my god. Oh, so we do get this scene after all. How long do we have left? Oh, quite a bit. It's all good. All good things must come to an end. Yeah, but I mean, you feel personally responsible. That's really sweet as well. I like that. See, it's like the reverse of the other one. Get a room. Yeah, that was the line I wanted to highlight as well. Because that's the whole thing, right? Great. And again, the whole thing about caring enough to cry that, you lost something. You know what help the crying? A smooch. And the next piece, it must be beginning very, very soon. No ending? Yeah, no ending. Okay, sure. I guess we did get credits there before as well. Um, hmm, 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 hmm. I have a bit to say about that. I think there's some really good elements there, but I'm unsure. Maybe it'll feel a lot better now that I know our end result going back through. I find that a lot with the videos I make on the channel. Um, I'll think something about an episode based on a preconceived notion. Like, I'll think something going into it. I'll initially be like, huh, that wasn't what I expected, and then dismiss it as being like not as good as I would have thought that they would have done it. But then I'll go back through and see the evidence for what they're trying to say, and then it'll be like, yeah, sure. I mean, that was there, and I just didn't see it initially. Again, I feel in a lot of ways I've been hitting the nail on the head a lot with these like two sides of Kumiko, right? The one side that really wants to part no matter what, really wants to win, really wants to get better, really wants to succeed. And then the other part, of course, that's, you know, the being a true person part, the kind of, making sure that everyone else is coming along for the ride, being inspiring, um, ultimately sacrificing her own opportunity to prop up somebody else. Isn't that ultimately what being a teacher is about as well? Trying to make others better. So this episode, of course, we see like Mayu even says it. She's like, you really shouldn't be doing this to me just before the audition. Like, it's not good for your chances, right? To be, encouraging me like this and doing all that kind of stuff. And she doesn't care in the end. So again, like that's the teacher-esque side coming out. That's the president side. Because ultimately, if she was as ruthless as Raina, she would take every single opportunity to do so. But she needs to be true. She needs to be fair. There needs to be a fair competition there. And yeah, again, that's something I've been saying a long way out, that this is the kind of conflict of the season. Again, there's a lot of fun little reversals there, and fun little references and that. But I just feel like towards the end, we're just piling it on a little bit thick. There's a lot of crying, a lot of crying. And again, it is literally the penultimate episode. So we're kind of getting it all out of the way now before going off to nationals next week and hopefully winning. You would imagine we would win. It's, it's almost, it would almost be like terrible writing if we didn't win based on all the kind of setup we've had to this level, right? But yeah, it's a little much. It's a little much, but of course, again, it may be for the super fans in that regard. I'm obviously a fan. I think this show's really, really incredible. But maybe for those that are a little bit more interested in the Kumiko Reina side of things. Obviously, the echoes of Liz and the Bluebird playing through kind of these two episodes as well has been really fun watch as well, because just kind of one going off to music school, the other one choosing another thing, and kind of that heartbreak being played in a really different way. In Liz and the Bluebird, it's quite understated, matching the character of Misery, in my opinion. But obviously, when you have characters that are outwardly emotional and honest and let's face it, flamboyant as Kumiko and Reina, you're going to blow that out a little bit more, and it's going to be a little bit more dramatic. Even melodramatic, in my opinion. I probably prefer the Liz and the Bluebird method, but that's just me. I like a little bit of subtlety, a little bit more anyway. But again, these are the two main characters of 3 seasons of television relative to 2 side characters that have a movie. Again, I'm kind of rambling. I'll reassess what I think tomorrow when I go back through these 2 episodes, of course. But yeah, this was quite good. Well executed, of course. Well animated. Great voice acting across the board. Some of the directions we go are really smart. I do like Mayu's backstory, but something's still holding me back, and I'm not quite sure what. Anyway, you'll see me tomorrow after the fact. So yeah, and we're back. It's the next day, and I'm going to endeavor to do something a little bit different here today, right now. I don't know why I chose today, but I did. I've got some notes. They're pretty informal, as you can see, and all definitely as important as each other. But these are going to be kind of basis for my conversation here a little bit, right? I'm still going to go back through and do things in order, but I'm going to try to do less recap, essentially because the recap is less important. I know that the series is ending next episode, so I can kind of make a little bit more of an overall kind of idea look at the show, I guess, for lack of a better term. So yeah, I think if I ruminate on these, I again 5 equally important points. I'll find some ground to talk about, right? So I guess I'll just start the conversation at the very top here and start talking about Mayu, and I guess what her point has been. So for a long time in the show, like Mayu's been in it, Mayu's been around, she's been just kind of there. I've been waiting for the thing to happen with her. As it turns out, the thing that happened with her was quite 11th hour and pretty much exactly what I thought it was going to be. But there's more to this, and it makes it more interesting than the way I've laid it out right there, right now. So again, based on a lot of things we knew about Mayu, there was evidence for something like this happening, and that something being, I guess, a falling out with somebody, etc. Transferring in your 3rd year of high school, kind of crazy, right? There needs to be a reason for why you would do that. The other one would be her general demeanor. She's very kind of soft and, what's the word? Kind of easily pushed around, easier, like malleable, right? I wouldn't mind giving up my spot for Kumiko. I wouldn't mind doing this for you. I'm putting myself out for others. Think about, again, some of the mama stuff as well, some of the parent stuff to that, some of the theming there very early in the season that kind of came through here in the very end as well. Again, self-sacrificey, doesn't really know what she wants, blah, 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 blah. Trying to make friends, but almost in a very obvious way. There's a lot of things about Mayu that point towards something happening in the past, which has changed her and changed her tact here. Again, during the pool scene, we see a little bit more explicit stuff into that as well. And then at the very end, hey, she had a falling out with her best friend, and they were in concert band together. There was an audition, which is a point of drama as well. You should probably go back to when we announced that we're going to do 3 auditions, and then she tenses up. Like we're specifically exacerbating her particular issue here. And again, she kept getting the parts. Her friend fell out of love with music, and their friendship fell apart as a result. This made Mayu feel kind of terrible. Thus, she moved schools. Thus, she came here. Thus, she's looking for another companion for a start, right? But also a fresh start as it pertains to music, right? To rectify the wrongs of the past, something like that. So this sounds like a couple of characters, and on purpose, right? This sounds like Kanade for one. This sounds like the kind of first year of the second years before they went into their second year, and the kind of exodus of the club of the first years, if that makes any sense. So like something went wrong and there was a falling apart, and now it's kind of redemptive, and this is the second chance here. But most specifically, and a scene that has mostly been, I guess, not explored in very much detail, it reminds us of Kumiko, who specifically had drama in middle school around auditions as well, taking the part of somebody that was older than her, right, and that causing drama. And thus, now we mentioned Kumiko, we get to the point of Mayu. And I guess we should get some evidence for that as well, if I have episode 12 up here, which I can get up here. Yeah, right here in the scene where Kumiko basically says, hey, you remind me of a lot of me from the past, which is... They're making the subtext text in a pretty direct way, but it clicked things into place for me. Personally, Mayu is Kumiko without Reina. Does that make any sense? So how have I described Mayu's thus far? Self-sacrificing, selfless, lets herself be pushed around a little bit. You could almost say just goes with the flow and just kind of does whatever, just kind of drifts a little bit, right? And only for Kumiko, right, in season 1 of the show, that's when, you know, Reina really stepped in and kind of saved the day there, so to speak, and gave Kumiko a little bit more purpose. Something, I want to be special speech right here as well. We're reflecting that, of course. Lots and lots of crying. Yeah, you know, like if Kumiko didn't have these experiences in her first year, potentially she would be in a spot similar to Mayu is right now. It's almost like anti-Kumiko was Mayu's friend from back in the day as well. Kind of the opposite, kind of dragging her away from music as a passion and towards something else entirely, right? It's like, hey, instead, you know, Reina's pulling Kumiko along. Now, where's my little notepad? Here. This is the point of Mayu, to reflect Kumiko back at her and make her face her own internal struggles and her arc up to this point, reinforce things for her, re-establish them, and make sure that she's forthright in her ideals going forward. That's the point of Mayu, right? And again, if we think back to some Mayu scenes, it recontextualizes a lot of them, right? Think about all these times that Reina comes over and pushes Kumiko towards practice or something like that. Mayu is looking at that and being like, hey, that's like exactly what I want, and you have exactly what I want, and then that brings into conflict her own personal emotions as well. And again, it would be very easy for... So again, Mayu constantly is like selfless. She's like, do you want the part? Do you want the part? I can give you the part. I can see the part, right? And then, of course, we can run that into the Kanade scene as well, which I'll get up now. And I'm willing to admit that this is a misinterpretation on my part during the initial reaction of the scene. And I didn't really consider who was saying the lines there and their particular persuasions and even their use in the narrative up to now. So let me set the scene a little bit. Mayu constantly comes up to Kumiko and says, do you want the part? Do you want the part? Do you want the part, right? But, however, in auditions, in practice, she continues to try her hardest no matter what. She can't let it go. And this is the realization for Kumiko. I thought the realization moment at the end of this was a little bit more around like Mayu's like evil now. She's been vindictive towards Kumiko. No, that's your read of the situation because you're Kanade and you're the devil on her shoulder. And of course you want Kumiko to win, you want her to play, that's your motivation there, and you're going to do anything and everything to make that happen. That's why Kanade does what she does, but the revelation that Kumiko takes out of this isn't that Mayu's like vindictive towards her, of course. It's that she loves music and hasn't taken the opportunity to let it go no matter what, no matter how beneficial it might be for everybody else. She can only do what others ask her to do, but in the moment, when left to her own devices, she is going to try her hardest and is actually a really, really good musician, right? And now, in considering all these things about Mayu and the eventual result of what goes on in the kind of audition there at the very end, which is psychotic, by the way. We'll get to some of the criticisms of the episode here in a minute as well. But Mayu's the better player. Mayu is chosen by Reina, which is ultimately really interesting because a Kumiko that hasn't been kind of influenced by Reina was more pickable than Kumiko herself. Does that make any sense? Like, like it's almost like Reina picked the original Kumiko in a way, which is kind of really sweet. Obviously, there's some more stuff in there about the Taki stuff, about being a true person and picking actually what you think is best, a true meritocracy, that kind of thing that we've been bringing up this entire kind of series up to this point, and that coming through to the nth degree here between the two leads of the show, essentially, the two romantically linked people. But yeah, there's something really beautiful about the Reina Mayu Kumiko decision there, and I think it speaks to the characters in a really cool way. Now, this is more of an episode 11 thing, but we're obviously invoking Liz and the Bluebird a lot with the Reina Kumiko stuff. We were already kind of doing it earlier in the season. I specifically think that Mayu brought up some stuff about Liz and the Bluebird in that pool scene as well from memory, which I should probably go back and have a look at. But hey, it's that classic old adage, which one is Liz, which one is the Bluebird, you know? And again, you have your arguments for each, but I think it mirrors Liz and the Bluebird in a lot of ways, right? Again, your heart right now would tell you that, hey, you know, the Bluebird, Liz. But, as evidenced by this scene here, is this not somebody like really, really trying hard to hold on to somebody who's going in a different direction herself? Then you can swap them, right? Again, very clever, much like Liz and the Bluebird itself. There's a reason why we go see Mizure in concert. There's a reason why Nozomi's there. Lots of stuff there, right? And I had some initial thoughts after watching, and I still probably agree with them in my heart of hearts. I prefer Liz and the Bluebird to this, but I also think that Liz and the Bluebird itself always felt so separate from everything else. This feels way more cohesive with the rest of everything going on in Hibike Euphonium, and thus fits better with everything else. You know what I mean? If you didn't watch Liz and the Bluebird and then you saw this, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's a pretty good telling of the events. It's only because Liz and the Bluebird's like the best movie that this kind of pales in comparison. So yeah, that's great. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we continue. Then we have Taki, of course. Taki's a very important character here as well. I don't even know how Oxford commas work, but I'm going to imagine I'm putting one there. Listen, grammar in the notepad file aside, what does this mean? So I've had a lot of kind of soft kind of implications, headcanon stuff about Taki. And I think it kind of gets soft confirmed here. Like, Taki's secretly not as sure of himself as he lets out to everybody else. When he has these quieter moments, he's like, a little bit more vulnerable with Kumiko and that kind of thing, right? He's constantly looking at his dead wife picture and being like, hey, would she agree? Am I doing the right thing by that? Am I living true to my ideals? All these other kind of things, right? And a lot of that was theory by me, and I was pretty happy when some of that came to fruition. I thought that was really cool, so I'm happy that I saw that. That was good. The teaching angle was very interesting, especially Michi and Taki both being like, yeah, we knew you were going to pick this, Kumiko. So again, we haven't told like the audience this, but it's becoming increasingly clear that it's just Kumiko is going to become a teacher. It's the thing we thought the entire time. And again, it was a puzzle piece that fit perfectly into place in the past, and now, again, it fits even perfecter now with all the Taki and Michi stuff this season, of course. You know what I was expecting as well? You know that first kind of time we saw Mayu, just like the top of her head? I was expecting us to play part of that scene and see what they were talking about with Taki and see if Taki knew something we didn't the entire time. I was kind of waiting for that as well, but that didn't really happen, or at least hasn't happened yet. But yeah, just in general, I think this fits very well with the theming of the season up to now. Growing up, choosing what you want to be, the type of person you want to be as well, and living those ideals out. As I've said before, kind of peeling back that curtain, what actually goes on behind the scenes to these people that project outward authority and strength. We have another one of them on screen right now. Like, I'm sure that there's first years in the club right now that don't know anything of Reina beyond just a fucking tough bitch. And look at this. She's very vulnerable behind the scenes. Who's to say that Taki, who reflects Reina quite a bit, isn't like this in his fucking downtime as well, and we just don't really see it? You know, it's what this is all about. We didn't think that the presidents of the club had any troubles, you know, or at least we didn't get to see the troubles. And now we're in their position. We have a ton of troubles. Kumiko will then be in Taki's position. She will have a ton of troubles as well. And most importantly of all, let me get that up, just because it's the best. It's the best thing ever. You're telling me they didn't know exactly what they were doing here? Are you telling me they didn't know exactly what they were doing here? And we love every single second of it, folks. This is the best scene in the entire 2-episode stretch. I don't care. You can leave that scene at the very end. I'll keep this one. This one's for me. Yeah, this is. I love every moment of that. Just so much. Listen, time to get a little bit critical, just so I can do it here and not do it a little bit later. I'm conflicted. On the one hand, yeah, you can kind of go a little bit gratuitous and overwrought and all these other things when it's literally the penultimate episode. This is the last time we're going to see these two characters together, right? But ultimately, I think with this, they're just doing a bit too much. It's all a bit much, you know? All the crying, the voice acting, their placement in this location in the city, this choice for the scene, reflecting so much of season 1 back at it. Like it just feels a little bit much, right? And I would have preferred a little bit more of a subtler ending, again, a la Liz and the Bluebird, right? I don't know what it is. It may just be Naoko Yamada being really good at what she does, right? But let me get up some Liz and the Bluebird. Like, this scene combined with, like, this montage where they're, like, walking in different directions, combined with this scene here, is stronger than anything in these 2 episodes by orders of magnitude. And again, I don't think the characters in particular are better. If anything, Kumiko and Reina have more stuff going on, right? They have more to put into this. But I think just the filmic style of it just matches my, I guess, persuasions a little bit more. Like, this shot in particular, oh my god. Oh my god, it's so good. Anyway, I don't need to glaze Listen the Blue, but I had a very long video doing that in the past. But yeah, this shit's unreal. This Take Flight? Where's Take Flight? Oh my god. If you want to kill me, show me this image. This makes me fucking cry every time. This, fuck me. And again, it's what is left unsaid more than anything else. And again, I think it does a lot more for it than a big, you know, soupy emotional cry scene at the very end of a show. Again, that in tandem with, and again, I'm flopping around a little bit, but that in tandem with this as well, the absolute anime-ness of it. This would get you, like, fired from your teacher job if you made kids do something like this. And what do I mean by anime-ness? Anime, to me, is so much about getting physical representations of feelings out into the real world and making them, you know, tangible, right? A ton of mecha shows do this, a ton of idol shows do this. They're very good at it, and I say that's a very anime thing to do, which may not be the correct nomenclature, but I don't really care. Where I guess it just... Hibike Euphonium is such a realistic series to me, at least more so than other anime. Them kind of making this 11th hour very ridiculous move is a little bit counterintuitive to me. I even thought this about season 1 back in the day as well. Like, but I thought that the situation demanded it. I thought that Taki kind of had his hand forced in a way to make, you know, the 2 trumpeters perform on stage for the rest of the group and then everybody choose. And I get what it's saying. It's saying this is the ultimate manifestation of what they wanted the club to be. And again, if the second years and first years are participating in something like this, they'll take those tenets forward and do everything else right. It'd be awesome. But it challenged my suspension of disbelief that a teacher would be allowed to do something like this, and there'd be an elaborate setup with sheets and stuff and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I've said my piece there. And now, okay, so now I plan to go back through the episodes again, but I've been talking for 20 minutes, so it's probably going to be a little bit more brief than that. I'll just be mentioning stuff that reinforces what I've already said, basically. This is a random one. I really like Suzume here. She thinks that we won gold and that's enough, and she's the first one to jump up and celebrate, but everybody's like, no, that's just the first hurdle, honey. We need to also be passing on to the next round. Just funny. Good character stuff, of course. And just in general, the show's really good at doing these scenes where we're announcing stuff and we're waiting with bated breath for a certain person's name and that kind of thing. It's, yeah, a number of times during auditions and these kind of competition scenes, I think it does quite well in that area, builds suspense. I guess more practically for next episode, Myojo, Ryusei, and us are going, so I don't know if we need to worry about any other schools, but I don't know. We'll see how nationals kind of happens next week. Just another thing I thought about here with Mayu as well, that kind of final line to Kumiko before she went in to do this performance, right? Which is, I'm going to do well in this performance, so you'll have a chance to audition and get your position back and play at nationals, is what she thought, right? And if we think about it with what we learnt about her in the next episode as well, this makes perfect sense. It's like, hey, I don't want to be hogging this position from you and that to cause a rift between us and a rift in the club and ruin everything, of course. Because again, based on that past baggage of having that friend that never really passed the auditions and that kind of thing, and feeling bad about that relationship kind of evaporating because of that. Just makes perfect sense. It clicks perfectly into place. This episode is called Orchestra to the Future. That's a pretty direct one, of course, because we're talking so much about our futures this episode, of course. I think there was a scene you got in on a recommendation to somewhere, I think. Again, I'd love to have the time here today to go back through this episode in great detail, because I'm already seeing a lot of great Kyoto Animation stuff, like Kaho mentions the Euphon and trumpet solely, right? And then Midori kind of blinks her eyes once and then casts her eyes over Kumiko and sees how she's doing with it all. Obviously, still a sore spot there. But again, that's just the stuff you don't get anywhere else. That's Kyoto Animation, right? That subtle moment of caring about a friend after Kaho mentions what she mentions. It's just really, really good. I guess a lot of this stuff here is pretty important as well, because it's re-establishing in this kind of 2-episode arc how much Kumiko cares about the youth and trumpet solely, even, again, what she personally cares about versus what's best for the club, which has been this dichotomy the entire season, of course. It gives emotional weight to what happens during episode 12, of course. Again, still, just all these little pieces clicking into place, especially around Mayu, is really, really fascinating. Or, again, every single time that she's asking Kumiko if she's okay, being recontextualized about what happened in the past, and of course with the stuff of it being like old Kumiko reflected back at her. I think, again, a lot of that fits really, really well now. My only problem is it's so late in the piece. I would have loved some sprinkling of this information throughout the rest of the show so I could put things together a little bit more without a full-on rewatch. Then Taki gets on to talking about his dead wife and especially praising Kumiko's speech from last episode. And again, what's the pretense to all of this? Kumiko's speech from last episode was her speaking from the heart. So Taki has trouble speaking from the heart and then glances over at his image and, he's with his dead wife and it's like, would she have been, happy in what you're doing right now? Are you being true to yourself, Taki? That's running into the next episode about what is Taki's ideal person like, a true person. It just all, again, fits really, really well. I think, again, the other problem I have overall, generally, is just the pacing wise. I feel like it's a little bit slow, these 2 episodes. Just a teensy little bit. Not a lot of content happens between now and the very end of the episode. It's good, it's emotive, and it's needed, but I would have liked a little bit more, like, just something to do in the middle of it all as well. I guess I just don't like the audition at the very end. I don't know. I'm a tough man to please, apparently, because a lot of people like this episode, apparently. Well, these 2. And not that I don't, but you know what I mean. I wanted to highlight this line as well. They said this about kind of concert band and that kind of thing, right? It's as futile and thankless as stacking rocks on the river Styx. Now, remember we did something with this with Monogatari from memory. There's the little thing about the river and the stacking rocks and the children and that kind of thing. We kind of went into that. It's about death in general. Death. So it's almost like its own weird form of purgatory. That's what they would say, right? It's futile and thankless, right? But then, of course, the kicker here being that they're not rocks. They're people. They're children. They're students, right? And there's nothing futile or thankless about letting people, students, young people, grow into the people that they become later in their life. That's the joy of teaching, right? And finding joy in that so-called futility. I think it's a really effective line, especially in conjunction with what's going on up here, of course, as well. And again, I think Kumiko understands this. I noted in the reaction, I really like the grab of the kind of strap there on the bag. And again, all this stuff that's like pushing Kumiko towards that teacherish path, which she chooses by the very end, of course. Then we have this scene. We learn a lot of information very quickly. Midori's in on a recommendation. Hazuki needs to do exams. I think she's going to childcare or something like that, early education, something like that. And we learned that Raina's going to America. Oh my god! It again, as I said in the reaction, it's very funny that Asuka brings up the fact of somebody going to study abroad and that being a wedge put between two lovers in in episode 10, and that kind of coming to fruition here in episodes 11 and 12, and of course again co-opting a lot of that Liz and the Bluebird swag in doing so. But again, this is the time that Kumiko learns this information for the first time. I really like the voice acting here, it's pretty good. Midori's little speech here about planting seeds, that's what we're doing now to grow into the people we want to be, makes a lot of sense as well. It's even, you could call it a tad on the nose. Raina's going to keep doing Raina stuff. She's going to go and try to be the specialist one of them all, or whatever she says in the very end. She's going to, catch them all and, become Pokemon Master or whatever. We have Kumiko here who's doing, club president work and teaching a lot of people and learning a lot about herself and how to grow people and how to change people and how to change herself in the process and all that kind of stuff. Everything in the show basically has been leading towards her becoming a teacher, especially this season 3. Again, planting the seeds for what will eventually come. And I like this for you as well. Hazuki, she's been working with the first years this year as well as before as well, maybe in some capacity. Also with Monica, right? I feel like her direction makes sense for her character as well in a lot of ways. So yeah, planting seeds, it's really cool. And again, pizza metaphor, we're cutting the pizza into big quarters and we're all going our separate ways with the slices, right? None of us are going to the same place, I think. And again, so much of this is done visually through the 2 episodes that when we get to the very end and hey, our 2 faves aren't going to go to school together, this isn't exactly a surprise, I guess. I don't know, maybe I'm too critical on that last scene. We bring up in the plot here that we're going to Mizure's kind of university show thing. Almost a last-ditch effort from Reina to hold on to said Bluebird as to convince her to go to music school with her, which again is a nice flip on the concept, of course. I'm seeing, more so Kumiko as the Bluebird and you as Liz. And it's funny that Liz is going off to music school instead of the Bluebird this time. I think that's pretty clever. I also highlighted this scene in particular because I really, really like it for Reina. Now, what is something I've said about Reina a lot? She's stubborn, forthright, my way or the highway, you know what I mean? I really like this for Reina, and it's something I personally needed to go through as well. Learning to apologize and learning to say, sorry, I was wrong. It was a hard thing for me to do at some points in my life. And I like a character like this, swallowing her pride and saying, I didn't like what I said back there. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean to imply that you weren't working hard enough and that's why you were complaining. It's just great character stuff. I really, really like it for Reina. And Kumiko, in her own way, making Reina feel better about it. Of course, meeting it with a little bit of comedy first and then going straight into the I love you hug. Further linking it to Liz and the Bluebird, of course. Yeah, it's pretty strong. Especially, yeah, this episode in tandem with Liz. I probably prefer 11 to 12 in a lot of ways, even though 12 has the more revelatory stuff around Mayu, which I think is probably the best thing almost this season. I really, really like it. And then, of course, if you're a ship lord, you're just loving every single second of what's going on here. Again, what's going on with Shuichi? I haven't seen the bloke in like months. This small scene here is very, very important and recontextualizes this scene here that happens in the episode, so I'll talk about it then, but establishing that Kanade really wants Kumiko to take the part and to play the solo. Just giving her a little bit of encouragement in her own way. I like the lack of eye contact here, doesn't want to almost meet it, just wants it to be like a fact of life that happens. I think it's a good choice. And until that final moment there where they meet eyes, yeah, great. Love it. You can tell this is truly genuine from you. A lot of stuff here about flowers and butterflies, right? Different colored flowers as well. There'll be a white flower and a pink flower in tandem in the start of the next episode. But here we just saw a butterfly fly off of a flower, which is interesting too. So I'm just wondering who's who in that metaphor. It's definitely like Mayu and Kumiko, but I'm unsure if there's like a third party there, maybe a Kanade. Again, important to reestablish a few things here. I want to care so much that I'll cry. If there's one thing we do in the next episode, it is cry. As Mayu appears in the scene here, we see the butterfly fly to the flower, probably implying that Mayu's the butterfly in this little metaphor. Meaning the white flower next episode is probably Reina? or maybe Kanade, one of the two, just like kind of two flowers in tandem. It's interesting, right? Because what do butterflies do? It's kind of symbiotic between flowers and the insects, right? And butterflies. They pollinate the flowers and make them bloom even larger. So it's kind of like Mayu's pushing Kumiko at the moment towards something even greater. It's also a very blank butterfly. There's not a lot of patterns there, as opposed to the pink, beautiful flower here as well. So maybe you're looking to gain something from the flower as well, and that's why you keep coming over here. There's a change in the framing here, which I didn't really grasp on the first watch as well. Instead of asking Kumiko to ask her to forfeit the Soli, she just says that she's going to forfeit it, right? Because it's better for the club. But of course, the same old scene plays out, and Kumiko's going to tell her no, basically. Again, knowing the knowledge we know now about Mayu, this scene makes a whole lot more sense again. That's not really what you want. I've gone through this in the past. My friend or whatever probably said that they didn't really want the part either, but they really did, forcing a wedge between the two, of course, and leading to how she feels now. And again, based off her past experiences, she knows not to repeat these same mistakes again, but thinks that people are always going to say what they don't really want for the benefit of helping everybody else. Blah, 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 blah. She knows how close you are to Raina as well. There's a lot onto this, right? And if there's one thing I can say about that whole audition structure, it definitely comes out the best for Mayu in the end, I would say. Now, this stuff's pretty important in retrospect now that I'm thinking about it, the framing of this question. If you were in her position, would you bother discussing it? Would you go to her and say forfeit, blah, 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 that kind of shit, right? Would you care that much? And Kumiko can say for sure that she wouldn't. I know Kumiko, she wouldn't do that. And again, Kanade's framing here is that she's insulting you. It's insulting to you. It's vindictive. She's trying to get to you. She's being a bitch. And I thought that was the revelation that Kumiko makes right now. Which is not. That's not what she's thinking. What she's thinking instead is like, hey, something else must be going on there and we must address this somehow, right? And this is the important part as well. Kanade and her little arc from Chika no Finale sees a lot of herself in Mayu as well, so that's another reflection that we see. But yeah, I mean, if she really wanted to forfeit the audition, she would forfeit the audition, but she can't lie to the music, almost in a very similar way to Midori as well. Just needs to be honest in the face of the music no matter what to herself and to everything else, but is malleable to other people. If somebody else asked her to, hey, if you could forfeit for me, that'd be great, she would, right? So people pleaser first and foremost, but when push comes to shove, really cares about the music. Again, a really interesting parallel for Kumiko. There's a really, really brief scene with Tsubame and Mayu which gets expanded upon next episode. There's nothing wrong with the way you played, there's nothing wrong with you playing, just Tsubame kind of reassuring her of that fact. We'll get an extended version of that scene as we continue. And then I think we're prepping for, again, if you're really into the Kumiko thing, this is a great scene for you. You get to see her all dressed up and stuff. It really feels like she's grown up through the series, which is a really nice feeling as well. It feels like she's become a different person from when she started to now, which is a great feeling. I think this is, again, they knew what they were doing there in that department. It really feels finalistic in that way. I like it. Again, so much of that Season 2 stuff about Mamiko as well, and now Mamiko is here pushing her onwards. I really like the little sticky note on the kind of the future form, you know what I mean? What school you're going to. Again, just speaks to her personal arc as well, that being Mamiko. And, you know, the decisions and learnings that she took through her tertiary education and how she's applying that to you now. We're on your side no matter what you pick. That's just a great feeling. I love that. Really love this line here as well. Mamiko pushes Kumiko of, hey, why don't you go to music school? And then she's like, no, not really. Why? Just because. Well, just because is the hardest reason to argue with. Because there's nothing I can do to change it. It's just something fundamental to you that you don't want to do. Just because I've made up my mind. The trembling in the voice acting here is really, really good from Kumiko as well, as she starts talking about the Soli part that was taken from her from this other girl, and she doesn't know how to feel about it all and everything. It's just a really nice personal moment between sisters. Again, I do think 11 is significantly better than 12. I really do like episode 11 here. Of course, the connection I just thought about as well. Mamiko went into beauty. She went into makeup and stuff. So of course she'd be really good at that kind of thing. And I mean, I've already said my piece about what's on screen right now and loving every single second of it. Not to, diss Nozomi as well. She's looking fine as well, of course. But just, My two faves dressed up like this. Is there anything else that somebody would want for? I don't think so. This satisfies every portion of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Every single part of the pyramid is satisfied by the image on screen. I cannot overstate how much I love this. So much of the end of this episode as well, now I'm remembering it, is kind of like a retread, or episode 12 is the retread of this same concept, because this is where we make the decision that we're not doing music school, right here with Reina, right? And the conversation with Mizore. That's how we get into this. That's how we know what's going on. I guess the emotional reaction at the end of 12 is more around not being able to play together in the final portion, and kind of all these feelings of saying goodbye to each other coming forth as well, of course. But again, I saw this image on screen. I'm like, well, here's three senpai that went in different directions, right, relative to one another, but they're hanging out together here. Look at them; they're still together. I know being in America will make it harder, of course, but school doesn't need to be goodbye forever to everybody else, right? Am I making any sense? I guess this is a reality that's foreign to somebody that's coming out of high school. But me being an adult now, I see this with my friends. We meet up like twice, three times a year because we're all in different parts of the country, obviously. And, we hang out like this and, we go our separate ways after that. That's just how life works. And I guess these two episodes of Kumiko and Rain are coming to the realization of this fact that they're not going to be inseparable as they have been for the rest of the show. But I don't know. Again, it's very high school. And I guess I need to cast my mind back to then and how I was feeling then and how it felt like the world was falling apart and I was losing all these people. In reality, it's just changing, and you'll find different people. That's how it goes. Now, I think this performance here is really masterful. Notice how we're focusing very, very much on Kumiko here, because this is the decision point. This is the reinforcing of just because and that kind of mindset, right? She looks down the Misery, sees her playing there in the little orchestra, right? Specifically focusing on Reina and Kumiko as well. And again, the camera there went behind Misery, right? And then we focus on Kumiko, right? Wide on the orchestra again. Look at her heart, specifically. Is her heart in it? And then hard cut out of there. I checked my heart. It wasn't in it. We cut the music, and now we're into the next scene. Now, again, she was waiting for this performance here to take her somewhere else, but it couldn't. It wasn't who she was. And again, I think Reina secretly wanted the same thing. She wanted this performance to inspire Kumiko to be like, hey, I can do music school too, and then go off with Reina and do that kind of thing, right? But in her heart of hearts, something else is calling her. Again, these two sides of Kumiko. Music school, teaching. Which one should I pick? In the end, she picks teaching because it's way more her. And the music school side was way more just the side of her that was influenced by Reina. Again, I think this is really, really great. Again, Reina must have been picturing herself playing at greater heights, just like Misery, but Kumiko couldn't do the same thing. And then if you're a Misery fan, just this scene is glorious. I love how flustered she is and how quickly she's running over to everybody else. It's like they're gonna leave her if she doesn't sprint. Now, Misery's great because she's so direct. Nobody else would say this in the show because it's kind of rude, but again, she's just being honest. She's just being herself, right? Obviously, there's this as well. I love the good luck to Reina that she does here as well. Right here. Yeah, put that on replay. I love that. And it's like, what would you think if I ended up in your school next year, Yorozuka Senpai? And then it's like, well, I wouldn't think anything. I can't picture you here. And again, everyone else is acting like that wasn't savage as fuck, but yeah, she's trying to be honest in her own way. Again, I think this stuff's a little bit more solid. The crossing of the road and the two going their separate ways and that kind of thing, right? Along with kind of Kumiko pushing her across the road, giving her that push to go off and, do the Liz and the Bluebird thing, but also the opposite Liz and the Bluebird thing, of course, as well. How the kind of crossroad links to the first season, to the first episode as well. I just think across the board, there's a lot more subtlety here than is displayed in episode 12. I'd love to see the difference in directors and writers and that kind of thing. Maybe there's a difference there I can kind of hold on to a little bit more. I think it's also repetition. Seeing two scenes very similar to this in two episodes in a row is a little bit much, especially in tandem with, is it episode 5, the festival one? The very similar scene as well about these two facing each other and talking about their future and even chuck episode 9 on there as well when the two have their separation and have that deep conversation. It's been a lot of Kumiko Reina this season. So again, this feels way more like a finalistic moment, or felt like the finalistic moment compared to next episode. I don't know. But yeah, this scene is strong, especially again in tandem with the Liz and the Bluebird stuff, combining with the initial premise of I want to be special, you are special, go and be more special, all that kind of stuff. If you're personally invested in the relationship, potentially a little bit more than I am, you'll love this stuff. And then we jump into the next episode, of course, with way more of a focus on you two in particular. So let's jump over there now. This is the flower I was alluding to before, which is kind of like the first thing we see in the episode, so it's pretty important. Pretty evidently, if you're bookending the episodes, Kumiko and Reina, that makes sense to me. Also, these flowers being kind of the manifestation of spring as well, which is one of the major concepts as we're moving towards that. Obviously, the part being, of course, that, they're not playing that solely anymore, which is that kind of manifestation of that part of the year as well. So, drama there too. It's piling in upon itself. It's pretty good. Again, this episode's really good outside of like two things. I think this scene is a little bit much, and I think that the overall concept for the audition just takes me out of it a little bit. Again, it's still really good, obviously. This episode is called The Last Soloist. I don't know what it is. It sounds very Star Wars to me, between, The Last and Solo, but that's neither here nor there. Pretty evident episode title. It's the last solo of our high school life, or solely in this case. Very quickly, we jump into like what happens, the results of the auditions. We jump in very quickly here. Kanade misses again, and we're having a meme audition for Kumiko and Reina. That's not Kumiko and Reina, Mayu and Kumiko. And that's all we really need to learn here, of course. Again, it's another really good audition scene where we're announcing stuff. The kind of tension is rising really well. I do really feel like this is a bit of a jumping the shark moment. It really, really is. We're going to have another final audition. The fourth time you two have auditioned, we're going to do it up on stage in a very similar way to season 1, and we're going to reflect. It's all a bit much. It's all a bit much. I feel like it would fit better. It feels very shonen. It feels very battle shonen almost. I don't like it. I think there was better ways to do this. I do like this though. If she was really intent on forfeiting, she would raise her hand right now. That is completely right. However, in her heart of hearts, she can't let go of the music, and she can't lie to the music and lie to herself by forfeiting without somebody else asking her to. Now, pretty justifiably, Kumiko should be pissed off. She should walk up to Taki and punch him in the throat, and say, "What the fuck are you doing? What is this audition?" Again, I understand what they're doing thematically. They explain it here. As a president, and as yourself, as the club being a manifestation of yourself, being a manifestation of Kumiko, Taki, everybody's desires to move forth and be the best, right? We need to do this, and we need to be true to ourselves and not what we personally want, and this true meritocracy thing, and whoever we truly think sounds best based on no other pretenses. That's, yeah, great, I understand that. I just think, again, the whole concept jumps the shark a little bit. It's just a bit ridiculous. I don't know. Thematically makes sense. In reality, takes me out of the show a little bit. This is a really important moment as well in retrospect. I forgot that Kumiko was the one that suggested that nobody get to see who's on stage, right? And it's like, hey, that shows we're truly aligned in our ideals, right? Kumiko's suggesting something to make it even more fair and true. You respect and, desire to be a true person. This is the best manifestation of that. She did that better than you ever could. And again, links her into your personal role, links you into teaching, blah, 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 blah. Perfect stuff. I like that a lot. Again, this is the ultimate moment of Taki. He looks over at the picture. We're reminded of that line that they aren't rocks, they're students. And Taki is seeing what he wants most in himself reflected back at him through Kumiko, right? Again, love this stuff for what I talked about before. If I can get it up here. Taki's hidden arc, which I've been talking about a lot. Yeah, I think that's quite strong. I might keep doing this too for other shows. I really like it as a way to kind of center conversation. Just kind of 5 separate points, maybe one of them a joke point, but still, like, I do like that. I might keep doing that. This moment here is important for the, I guess, emotional stakes of the episode. Reina is so invested on playing with Kumiko. I will play with you, Kumiko. And then ultimately her choice came down between Kumiko and Mayu and couldn't pick up her particular playing, which is like, oh, well, one was truly the better player, blah, 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 blah. It's the true reflection of, our ideal for each other, right? But but not what we mean to each other, you know? It's me doing bad by you and me feeling bad about that, but ultimately it's the best thing for the club going forward and the ultimate signifier of the change of Kumiko, right? That she's okay with this now, completely and totally okay with this. Again, reinforced by this scene where she walks forward and says, "Everybody, you're gonna be like okay with this. This is the best thing for the club." Again, really great Kumiko stuff. Here's the little post-it note from Mamiko as well. We kind of get introduced to the house, and the mother is pushing the father to talk to Kumiko about what she's going to do with her career. But she walks in and she already knows what she's going to do. And then I'm on your side no matter what you write, because Mamiko keeps hanging around the house and sees this empty form and wants to let her know. But I think the conversation that we had there with the father was about wanting to pursue teaching. And then, of course, I think we go very quickly into that and we have this conversation with Michi. None of this is confirmed yet. I'm just going to imagine it's teacher. It happens after that emotional conversation with Taki, probably revelatory for Kumiko going forward. I really like Michi here as well. Like, this is what we thought you were going to do the entire time. And then, of course, that adage in the show that adults are amazing. How could they know this? They see more than you see at the moment. You know, they got a broader perspective. Think about that scene with Asuka, right? She said the exact right thing from a little bit of wisdom, from being an adult herself and empathy and putting herself in their shoes. And yeah, as soon as you're a grown up, you'll be thinking that the kids are amazing, just like Taki did just then, right? Because again, I'm trying to push them towards a certain ideal, and they'll reflect that back at me, and how they so much further along than I was at that point. It's all just warm, fuzzy feelings. I like it. How many different shots do we have of Kumiko and Reina walking away from each other in this shit? That's what I mean by they're laying it on a little bit thick. Kanade reinforces her point there as well. Go get the Soli. And listen to these. I want you to really vote for which one you sounded better, not the one that I played, because you may know her particular playing apart from others. Now, I'm really curious to go through to see the voting process and see who votes for who. From memory, I think Mayu plays first, so we'll have a look at that. I really love being placed in the same position as the audience here. I love the decision to not tell us who's playing which part. We're just as blind as everybody else. I think that's quite masterful. I really, really like that. Again, speaks to the ideal of not focusing on which one you particularly want to win, and instead which one you personally think sounds better, helping the audience feel involved in the show in a way that I don't think they have in any other part of the show, I don't think. Yeah, it's cool. It felt like I was participating. It was nice. Of course, here we have Mayu asking the Mayu question again. Are you sure you don't want to play the Soli? I'll wake up screaming in the middle of the night in my fucking 80s, and I'll still see Mayu here asking me if I want to play the Soli. But that's neither here nor there. This is the, again, 11th hour stuff that I've been talking about with Mayu. I don't think we need to go into it in as much detail here. I'll obviously watch through the scene, but the general gist is that she had a friend back in the day and they had a falling out based on audition processes, and she's trying to rectify that now, look for friendship in Kumiko. Mayu also reflects a past Kumiko as well, so, they're both kind of kindred spirits in their own way. I wouldn't say that they're friends, but they relate on a level, in a way that wasn't there previously after this scene. Oh, we can add this to the other things I don't like as well. Why place this in the exact same location as another scene in the past? I just think it's a little bit nostalgia baity. I can see how the themes are similar, but just one original thought would be nice. I don't know. It didn't need to. There's already so much reflection in this episode of that particular episode in season 1. I feel like the writers are really, really fond of it. We've reflected it a number of times here. It is central to the thematic stuff in the show, but just a little bit gratuitous. What's the word? Masturbatory almost? I don't know, not for me. Pushing this kind of reflection of these two characters to the nth degree reveals that, hey, every single time that Mayu's been asking Kumiko if she really is okay with this, it's kind of Kumiko asking herself that. Again, all these different characters in the club are reflections of Kumiko. That's kind of what this grand metaphor of being the president is about. Every single member of the club is an appendage of me, and ultimately that Reina side of me is the one that kind of votes against me in a way as well and doesn't let me play the part. It's kind of like her being true to herself, but also Kumiko being true to herself in the process. Again, smart. Really, really smart. I really love that side of it. I just still can't get over how ridiculous this is. I really can't. I don't know. Well, that's smart as well. So Kumiko implies that Kumiko changed when she met Reina, but then Mayu's like, I don't think that's true. Because I never met my Reina, yet I'm still as fiercely competitive as you. You may be thinking this change in yourself was basically predicated on Reina exactly. But that's not the case. That's still within you. That has been the you the entire time. And you need to take some responsibility for that. And the evidence being, if I'm like the old you, I still feel that competitive spirit. I still can't lie to music. I've still got that connection there. That's very, very smart and informative for both characters in a lot of ways. Yeah, again, really, really good. Again, here we just see everything kind of falling in on itself here, the stuff I've already talked about. We specifically highlight the venue where we're at right now, and this specific spot in the venue as being the place where we made the decision to judge based only solely on sound, and that's kind of the meritocracy thing we've kind of carried through the rest of this. That's kind of the place where we discovered that, and that's where this is coming to the nth degree. Again, I like it. I just feel like it's a little bit masturbatory. It's I feel so guilty whenever I say criticisms about stuff I watch. Because again, I'm only this critical because I care, I think, right? And I wanted to pause here because I really, really like it, because this is just the reinforcing of everything. I feel like you're the real you when you're performing. So if Tsubame is saying this about Mayu, then this is also true for Kumiko, right? I feel like you're the real you when you're performing, when you're trying your best. Because again, Mayu can't lie to the music. She can't turn in a poor performance on purpose without reason. Thus, apply performance to everything else in life. I feel like Kumiko's the same way. Is this what it means to be a true person? Again, it's all falling in on itself in a really, really cool way. And now we're finally to the audition, of course. For the record, I did think that the first one was slightly better. But again, I'm a layman here. I think they're pretty identical, if I'm honest. I also like that last line from Mayu as well. You shouldn't give your direct competition a leg up by this, like by inspiring them and that kind of thing. So I don't care. I'm going to win regardless. She doesn't win. In the reaction, for the record, I had a 50-50 choice and I chose the wrong one, which was kind of funny. I was sure that this was Kumiko. It wasn't. I was trying to see any fun differences between the two performances there in the editing and the shot selection and that kind of thing. I only really came up with one thing, which I'll see in the voting here. I'll see if that's confirmed. But Kanade was the one who opened her eyes when Mayu started performing. Like, she thought that she was the better performer, maybe. Like, oh shit, I'm sure that this is the right person, right? Other than that, I thought most of the shots were pretty similar. You couldn't really tell who was who. Nah, yeah, Kanade votes for Kumiko. Unless I'm wrong about who's who. Interesting. I thought it would have been the other way, and then we have that guilty Kanade scene, of course. I thought that was going to have extra oomph behind it, because she technically voted Kumiko out as well, against her own wishes. I will reiterate my point for the last time here. I think Reina being the final vote, thematically, is great. Again, for everything I've talked about, for the club being representation of Kumiko and these ideals being carried forth, this personal, important person to Kumiko who wants her to play from the deepest part of her heart. These two are going to be separated. They're besties. They're inseparable. And this is going to be the last time they have a chance to play together. And then, even with all this baggage, she can't not be true to herself. She couldn't identify Kumiko's playing. They were too identical, they were too perfect, but ultimately she had a preference, and the preference she went with was the wrong one. So strong. This final, even reflection of Kumiko in Reina picking the other person because they were better. They were the better player, right? This ultimate kind of becoming okay with this within Kumiko is the representation here as well. That's great. But I just feel like it's a little bit much. Again, it's one thing for these things to happen, it's another thing for them to happen in reality and me to be believing it. Again, the build of tension here is really, really good. The kind of focus on the feet here, even in a very Naoko Yamada way, the focus on the legs and the stepping forward here from Mayu. And again, like lots and lots of repetition of shots there, and then finally the step forward there. Even the eyes there are really fantastic between Kumiko and Reina, just like their different reactions based on the eyes. Now we get to talk about Kanade a little bit. I mentioned during the reaction, I feel like she's, in this scene, specifically reflecting Yuko. Kaori's presence in the season now makes a whole lot of sense, right? Because we literally ripped their scene off verbatim almost. But yeah, you being the Yuko in that situation is quite fun. And again, this scene in a little bit as well, where they're crying back at each other. This reminded me of Kumiko in season 2 when Asuka goes away as well. Kind of this last goodbye between senpai and kohai. I like the placement of this because this obviously comes after this other portion in the episode, right, where we make that discovery and that conversation with Taki. What is your ideal person? A true person. Again, the placement in the episode's perfect because it comes just before Kumiko comes back and reaffirms everything. I want to be true to myself. This is my ideal. Instead of pursuing this pissy angle almost of like wanting to be the best and being kind of pissed off that I lost. The Rainer route, let's call it. I'm going my own way, in metaphorically going away from Rainer as well, as I have been in the Liz and the Bluebird stuff. I'm going to do the teacher thing. I'm going to become more like Taki. I'm going to be a true person. This is what I truly believe now from the bottom of my heart. Same as episode 10, speaking from the heart. This is the best roster. We will respect that. End of discussion. Convincing the whole club to be on the same page in the process, the whole club again being a reflection of herself. I love the focus on Mayu and Kanade here. Kanade is distraught again because of that personal connection and that fondness for Kumiko in a very tsundere kind of way. But then Mayu's eyes here are great too. Not a dry eye in the house. There we go. Because this is like the redemption for Mayu. This is what didn't happen in Mayu's past that now is happening now, which, reignites that fire, that love of music, and also that friendship. That's quite beautiful as well. I really like that. I love Kumiko smiling here too. You can tell that she's internally consistent here, right? She may be able to cry later with Reina, but in front of everybody else, this is what she truly believes. And it's more crying at like saying goodbye to Reina later on. If anything, she's the one that has it together more than Reina a little bit later on. Everything about Mayu these two episodes has been the shining star. Well, that and Natsuki in a suit. They're pretty even as the best things in these two episodes. Apparently Reina already ran away, so we ran out looking for her, but then we get ambushed by Kanade. I love the shot there as well, the kind of camera back and then the tracking back as well. That was really good. I love the initial stuff of Kanade coming in with, hey, why do you always take the short straw focusing on Kumiko, but before going to her own motivation in it, which is, I wanted you to play, but that's against that. That and my frustration are two different things. So yes, she is personally frustrated when she's with Reina later in this. We even replay this line specifically, right? But in the end, she has to do the teacher-esque thing, right? The thing that's best by the president, the best by the club, and promote this meritocracy. It's almost like all that drama between episodes 8 and 9 is coming out on the other side of it now. She's fundamentally different. She's fundamentally changed by the events of the season in a way that's really, really fun. But that doesn't mean this other part disappears as well, right? I'm still really, really frustrated, personally, right? It's really fun how it's flipped, right? Because initially in the season, Reina was really, really like with this meritocracy thing, but now she's almost reflecting Kumiko back at her as well because she's really pissed off on account of Kumiko as well. Very, very smart. And then finally, true to yourself, I just wanted a final chance to play with you. You wanted to play it anyway, you didn't get picked. Anyway, whatever. Now again, similar to the placement of that Mayu conversation early in the episode, I just wish we threw in some new locations. We've been here so often. Again, it feels nice and full circle, and it's a delicate balance between referential and copying, I think. And I don't know. I get it. I get what they're doing thematically. I just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a weird mood about it. I guess where I land on it is the second to last episode. You probably are allowed to be a little bit gratuitous when it comes to this kind of stuff. Even though I'm not personally with it, I understand the decisions being made to make it this way. And I don't think we need to talk that much about this conversation because it's just the reinforcing of everything I've been saying, right? And the frustration from Reina here, I love this as well. Not being around picking the wrong person and, being true to her own personal ideals and picking the better player, but more to the point of, I didn't recognize your specific sound. It's not, I would have always voted who was better or worse, right? But I didn't know which was which, and that's more heartbreaking for her, right? Like I didn't know the U and sound as well as a word as well. Obviously, sound euphonium, there's that connection there too. Not knowing the you, not knowing your personality and the person that I've come to love, right? Over the course of the show. Not recognizing that you is the most heartbreaking portion. And again, not being able to do that going forth as we're going to drift further and further apart. And then even in the end, Kumiko asking, do you regret what you did? And then it's like, well, that's a nasty thing to ask, right? And of course, we're reflecting the your special scene back at, we're switching the characters in a really fun way. I do like the idea of Kumiko's hesitation when it comes to music school coming out in her sound, because that being performance not being something that she really wants to pursue in that way. And hey, I knew that you're special, Raina, you're specialer than everyone else. You would pick the right person there, regardless of what it sounded like. You know, you would know based on the sound. And the fact that you're true to yourself, Raina, is something that I'm personally really happy about. And despite everything, I still wanted to play with you in the end. Yeah, you know, and not a dry eye in the house. And again, all these scenes, right? That's not what you truly want. My frustration and that are two different things. I still was really frustrated. And of course, that old adage with the show, frustrated at something so much that it makes you want to cry, and being that invested in it. Again, interesting that we show Kanade when that was kind of that final scene of Chikai no finale as well. I want to do my best and be proud of my performance. Again, we're just reaffirming thesis of the show here at this point. And then, of course, the next piece begins with Nationals next week, and we can wrap up and we can be a little bit more overall about everything, I guess. I didn't want to come off as negative as I feel like I did, because these two episodes are really great. It is a couple of gripes holding back episode 12 in particular. Episode 11's fucking amazing. And ultimately, thematically, I still think it's really strong. There's just a couple things holding it back for me personally. But again, the only reason I have this feeling of it being held back is because I care so much about what it should have been like and how I would have changed it and that kind of thing, right? Which is, there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think. It's an interesting one. I'm more conflicted than I thought I would be, but it's really good still. Don't get me wrong at all. It is really, really good. And next episode, hey, we have that kind of nice opportunity to put a bow on everything. I think we've done the pacing really, really well. Just going into that Nationals performance at the very end there. Of course, we're gonna, reinforce things even more there at the very end with this solely between Mayu and Reina. So I'm looking forward to that as well. We're probably going to win. Kumiko's going to apply to some schools. There's going to be more Taki stuff. I hope we see the Senpai as well. All sorts of stuff going on there. And yeah, I'm going to end the video now. But thanks for watching along with me. It's been great thus far. Don't forget to get those recommendations in on the Discord for what we watch next as well. This was really, really good, obviously. So yeah, I mean, I'll see you next week for some more. I'll see you next week for the last episode, for the finale. So yeah, I'll catch you then. See you later. Goodbye.